welcome to Page Turners, a bookish podcast. Each week we choose a different book to read and then we come together and we talk about it. Just think of us as your book club besties. You can read along with us each week and berate us for our wrong opinions or cheer when we get it right. Beware, here be spoilers. That's Amy.
And that's Liv.
Hello!
Hi!
How are you?
Yeah, good thanks. I feel like I always say good thanks.
Actually, I'm terribly depressed, thank you for
awful.
asking, and I will be airing it over the next 50 minutes of this podcast.
Yeah, settle in. Strap
in. Thank you. Should we do a little cheersies?
Yay!
Last week we had wine. This week we have gin. Which, if that doesn't already tell you about the state of the book we're about to discuss, it should.
I feel like wine was like, we're having fun, we're being like girlies drinking wine, chatting about books, it's quite sophisticated. Now we just need hard liquor. Yeah,
just to get us through this. Yes. What have we been up to? I was recently in Durham.
Yay! Visiting fam.
Yep, visiting family. Mainly the reason we went is to go and see two of our good friends, George and Tristan. I was going to say, I won't name them for privacy reasons. There's like 3 people listening.
But do they listen?
I don't know. Oh. Georgia, if you do, hello.
Shout out.
Hello, darling. It was a really nice weekend.
Yay.
We spent Friday to Sunday with them, and Georgia asked me to be her maid of honour
at
their wedding. So
lovely.
That's very fun and a big honour, and I'm very excited. I may have already started planning
for a wedding in
September next year.
Do you know, that's not too bad. I've had friends before who were getting married 2 years' time and were still really into the planning stages because it's just good fun.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's good fun for a bit.
What did you find was your funnest part of planning?
Looking at different venues.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I just got a bit disillusioned after that because we looked at so many venues.
See, we couldn't really because we wanted to get married in Scotland so our family could come and our friends could come. And we obviously had friends that were in Guernsey and they travelled, so that was nice. But we didn't have all that much time to look, so we looked over Christmas.
Right.
And we had to kind of make the decision because we really wanted to have a venue booked in the December for the August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So we didn't have much time to look.
Okay.
So I think we looked about, to be fair, we still looked about maybe 6 to 8 venues, I would say.
That's a lot, yeah.
But it was just quite good fun. We went as a big family, which was really nice.
Did you have to envision them all without the Christmas tree and the Christmas decks?
Yeah, and it was quite frustrating because we had asked one, I don't mean like total bridezilla, but we had kind of wanted to go back and see another one, and they'd said, we'll take the Christmas tree out just so you can get a better idea, because it was kind of dominating the space.
Yeah. And
then we went and they hadn't, so it was a bit like, oh. But to be fair, that was the one we chose anyway, so...
Oh, fair enough.
There
we go.
Yeah.
I was about a shit on that one, but no, you chose that one anyway.
It's all good. What was your favourite part?
The seating arrangements. Planning the seating charts.
Oh, you're like Monica.
We did it on, I don't get that reference, but yeah, sure. We did it on like a big A3 sheet and put all the tables and got like the sticky notes that had like the sticky bits that let you put in and start. Yeah, that was so fun. Yeah. And very unproblematic.
Yay!
Turned out we've got a lot of friends that don't have a lot of drama together.
Brilliant.
So it was great.
Wedman was good fun. We did Wedman probably every Sunday. That was like our little thing together that we were like, it's a
little date night.
Yeah,
open a bottle, get a couple of drinks or something, and do some Wedman.
Yeah, it was good fun. I think towards the end it got less fun because it got a bit more stressful and the things were kind of starting to maybe go wrong. But to be honest, the whole thing we planned ourselves. It was.
I was never stressed through our wedding planning. Once.
Wow.
Except for maybe the times when I spoke to my mum.
Shout out to Mum.
She doesn't listen. Neither of them listen. They told me the other day they didn't start listening past episode 1.
Aren't going to listen, to be fair. They listened to the first episode to kind of give support, but then they were a bit like, it's not really for me. And then it makes me feel better to know my dad isn't hearing me talk about some of this. So I'm like, do you know what, Dad? It's maybe not for you.
But no. Some of the conversations I had with my mum over the planning of the wedding, not great. But
okay,
she knows though. I think even if she is listening, if she decided to just tune in for this one. She's very aware, and we've spoken about it since. So
that's healthy. It's good that you heard it.
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was good. We were pretty.
Yeah, what are you guys up to? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. Drama-free. How did you find getting your dress? Sorry, I just want to quickly ask this one question, just because I like that topic.
That you've never asked me before and decided to ask on the pod.
I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah, it took a while.
Okay, that's what I was kind of curious to know.
Yeah, no, I went with my mum and one of my bridesmaids, Hannah, all around London. We did a few places. We did Pronovius, Alice Temperley, Jenny Packham, and
I don't know any of these places.
Oh, stunning dresses.
Oh, lovely.
Alice Temperley, like the dresses were like 4-6 grand, sort of things. Like, but you did get a free drink. But like not
Isn't it
just
fun when they give you a free
not
drink?
just a champagne. There was you could choose from cocktails.
Oh, that is
in
fun.
Alice Temperley.
That is fun.
They were delicious, so
Great.
good. But yeah, no, some of the dresses were stunning. And then Mum and I, she had come down separately again, and then we went to this place in Wimbledon.
Oh, fun! That's cool. So
Yeah.
that's like a little nod every time you think about Wimbledon. That's that little
Yeah.
special place for you that you got your dress.
Did we go to Wimbledon? Teddington.
I was thinking like, oh, so every summer you'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry. I think we had to go or catch the train from Wimbledon. No, we caught the train from Victoria and we went through. I don't know. Honestly,
that's a nice story though.
It was that way. It was to the west of London.
Fun.
But yeah, how did you find getting your dress?
Fine. Again, I didn't have much time. I bought it here.
The way you're setting this up is as if Rory and you guys had a shotgun wedding. Like
we've literally been together since 2011.
Like, but the way you're saying it is like we didn't have a lot of time. Like honestly, I was about to pop. Like
exactly. Yeah, no, it was just because we didn't want to get anything in Guernsey. We weren't going to get married there, so we didn't really do any.
Right, so in the sense that you didn't have enough time, you had to do it while you were visiting family up here.
And because I was a teacher at the time, I couldn't just take holidays whenever I wanted to. Like nowadays, I would be able to like set aside weeks.
What are you complaining about? Teacher's the easiest job that's ever been.
Right in, guys, right in. I'm not saying it.
Obviously, I do not think that.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't have much time in that respect. So I think we went to maybe. I want to say 4 or 5 shops probably, and then it was a place in Glasgow which I think has moved now called Amy's Bridal.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, that we didn't have an appointment for, and Carol, because I went with my mum and my lovely mother-in-law, and our mother-in-law's called Carol. Shout out Carol, you don't listen. She said, "Oh, Amy's Bridal, that's funny," and then we were like, "Oh, we'll go and try," and they were like, "Yeah, do you know what? We've had a cancellation. Come in."
Oh, that's lucky.
Here's some prosecco. Well, I was like, prosecco.
Where's the champagne?
Exactly.
Where's the good stuff?
The special day for me, Amy.
I own this shop.
Exactly. From one Amy to another. Yeah, and I found our dress. Yay.
Cute.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. How have I been? So
yeah.
You'd asked me that before, and I just interrupted you entirely. So
yeah, it's all right.
Right, listeners, I need your help with something.
Oh my god.
I know. So it's such a weird predicament that we're in. So basically, over the last couple of weeks, we have had quite a lot of bird suicides. I'm just looking at Liv's face. Yeah, so we have, you know this, you've been in our kitchen. We have glass.
You know this about the bird suicides, and I was like, well, no. We have
glass window. We have a big picture window in the lounge, and we have glass, and quite a lot of glass in the kitchen. And basically, if you have that and you have trees, that in front of the glass and therefore reflect.
Basically, they form the border of your property. Yeah,
they do. And
property makes it sound like you guys live in a really fucking massive house.
It does. I'll let you think what you want to think there. Yeah. So basically, because it's a reflection there, the pigeon then thinks, "Oh, that's another tree."
Oh, not pigeons.
And they have, and I'm talking, it is loud as shit. Like I was sitting last Saturday having a coffee, just chilling in the lounge watching The Office, and it was like bang, flew straight into the window. So I've had to go out and clean all the bird smudges off the window, which I thought was the biggest problem because they were okay. They flew off, and I watched them, and I went out, and I was like, "Oh, they're dazed. They're a bit stunned. It's okay though. They flew off." No. I went on the is it the RSPB website just to check it out, and apparently they will die because they have such terrible internal bleeding that they will definitely die. If they leave a big enough smudge, they'll go away and they'll just die somewhere quietly.
Sorry, so the RSPB has measured the death to smudge ratio of birds hitting windows.
Yeah, they have basically done a study and found that if a bird hits a window at that kind of velocity, they will get really
terrible.
I
love pigeons.
I know, they're so stupid because they do that, but I love them too. And so we had 4 in the past 2 weeks.
4? Alright, so what are you asking the listeners' opinion?
Please help me. Is there any ideas on what I can do to prevent this from happening? Please. Because I can't be I said this to Rudy the other day. I actually jumped up the other day when it happened. I said, I can't live like this anymore.
I can't be responsible for more death.
He was like, it's okay. It's not you that's killing them. I was like, but it's kind of me. So please, if you have had a similar experience, all 3 people that listen, please help me. I don't want to be responsible for any more birds dying.
Guys, we're changing the terms of the competition. The first person to email in, it used to be the first person to email in with a 300-word review of the podcast and one of the books gets one of the books, but now it's the first person to email in with some sort of solution for Amy. And it has to be tangible. It can't just be black out all your fucking windows. These guys need to be able to see. I feel like it has to be tangible as to something that's been... I mean, you could just Google it. I'm looking at you as if the people... Because I see the people on Facebook that are like, can anyone recommend a thingy or a dentist in the area? It's like, fucking Google it.
I know.
But fine.
On the local Facebook community page right now. Like, that's why I am.
But you're at your wit's end.
You have experienced it though, and you have come up with something that actually works. Google has a lot of ideas, but no one really says if it works. So if you've been in a similar situation... I can't live like this anymore. I cannot kill any more birds, and I can't think of what to do. Yeah, help me out, please.
The best thing will be is if we finish recording the podcast, we go downstairs, you explain this scenario to Alex, and he immediately comes up with a solution. Then all bets are off. The competition is voided.
Void.
Yeah. Terms and conditions apply.
Do it really quickly, like they do in the radio. When they say it really fast.
That's it. But
yeah, that's what I've been experiencing recently.
And I was having a nice time being someone's maid of honour, and you're dealing with avian death.
I know.
Avian? Yeah. I won't second guess myself there.
Highs and lows of life.
Wow, and that leads us in so nicely.
Life was a rich tapestry. Liv.
Yes, Amy.
What are we reading this week? Or what have we read this week, I should say?
This week we have read 5 Brothers by Penelope Douglas.
Yep. Now to be fair, you have read 2 books.
Yes, so when we first decided we were going to do this, which I don't want to lay it at your feet, but it was your idea.
To be fair, it was mine. I take full responsibility for it.
And so I read, I read the synopsis, or I think I read the first page or something of, because Penelope says, they say themselves in the thing, this book is a continuation of characters that exist within the Tri-Six Venom universe.
Right, okay.
And you don't have to read that book for this book to make sense. And I sort of texted you and said, I think it was quite late, I think you might have already gone to bed. And I was like, I'm going to read it. I'm going to fucking read it. So I went ahead and I read Tri-Six Venom almost in one night.
Ooh, okay. So was that a good book? Did you enjoy Tri-Six Venom? When
I say that I read it almost in one night, people will believe that makes it a fucking banger. No, it just so happens that I don't sleep so great sometimes. Yeah. So it's not necessarily that the book's great. That's not necessarily...
It's just one of those nights for you.
It's just one of those nights. But, so it's not always a slam dunk as that the book's good. But I would say that the book was fairly good. It's billed as a bully romance. It's sapphic.
Oh, cool, great.
Which is a nice twist, especially considering I haven't read any sort of dark romances that are queer.
Okay, I wish we'd read that then. Never mind, we're moving on from that. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we're set in Florida still?
Yeah.
Same setting?
It is
same
basically cast. The 5 brothers have one sister.
Yep.
That is Olivia.
Yep.
Me too.
Yay.
And she goes to a fancy school over the other side. So essentially, with this, the 2 themes of this, very strong themes in this book is there's the wrong side of the tracks. Essentially, like it's almost like a reservation.
Yeah. So it's in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I got kind of like Everglades vibes because they kept talking about the swamp
and the crocodiles. Yeah, for sure. And what you go on the Everglades, like a hoverboat.
Yeah.
Or like a hover something like that.
Yeah, with a big fan on the back.
Yeah. We talk about that. Yeah, and essentially you've got like the white, very posh, very rich side, and then you've got the wrong side of the tracks, which is just the people that aren't posh
Yeah,
or
so
rich.
they're the saints collectively?
The saints are the posh fucks.
Is that the name of the school?
It's like saint something.
Right, okay, I'm just wondering if that why they're called that.
So Olivia she gets a scholarship to that school because she wants to get out of
the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. She wants to act. She wants to go to Dartmouth. And they have an excellent theatre programme, apparently.
Yeah.
Any American listeners, is that true?
I feel like the Ivies are like their own thing, right?
Oh, I don't know. Is Dartmouth an Ivy?
Yeah.
There you go then.
I know because of Gossip Girl.
Is it? Who goes to Dartmouth?
Nate.
He goes to Columbia. Oh.
No.
No, his dad tries to get him because he's a Dartmouth man. Right, yeah, but Nate does eventually go to Columbia. Sorry, anyone.
Anyway, yeah. So sorry, that's my extent of Ivy League schools in America. So if you're American and you know more about it, please tell us.
Yeah, do they have an excellent theatre programme? Is it better than Juilliard?
Oh,
I can't imagine it is, considering Juilliard is a theatre school.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So she wants to go, she's got ambitions, and she knows she needs to go to a particular kind of school to reach those
to be and essentially she is obviously looked down upon as this sort of like, well, she's very much gay. She's out and proud, and essentially is looked down because she's gay, looked down on because she's
on the wrong
proud
side
about it, and because she's on the wrong side of the tracks. And essentially it's a bully romance with a popular girl at school who like hates on her, and then they eventually start fucking in secret.
Should have read that for sure.
The thing is, there's some controversy about this book.
Oh, I know.
It's not bad, but people don't like it because the bullying is really extreme.
Can you give us an example, please? I just want to know. I'm just curious because the reason I'm saying this is because I have read a Penelope Douglas book before, and I know they don't mess around with the bully romance genre. They don't shy away from really cruel, horrible, heartless things that happen in these stories. If you can't, it's fine. It's okay. Is it like that? Can you remember it being really intense bullying?
It is fairly intense, and it's also, there's an element of it that definitely seems like there's some bits that you would be hard pressed to pull back on.
There was an element of that in another book by them, where I think it was almost a bit like it was either an attack or a sexual assault. I can't remember.
Oh wow, I don't think it's as bad as that.
Right, okay.
Because that is horrible.
That was their first book, I want to say.
Oh, testing the waters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just going in real easy.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah, no, it's not as bad as that. Okay. But it is quite bad. I think at one point they break into her house.
Wow.
But it's like a senior prank night or something, and it's
prank night.
Yeah, prank night, where every prank isn't a prank.
We call it a prank because it's a crime.
Senior crime night. Yeah. Essentially, they break into their house, and they like steal their like family flag and clay. Oh, please don't. Okay. Clay lays on the eldest brother Mason's bed with it and like takes photos with the flag and stuff. So the reason that I read this book first is because it introduces you to some of the core characters that exist within Five Brothers, namely the Five Brothers. Should we talk about the Five Brothers and their names?
Well, we're going to fucking have to, because we're going to talk about them in a minute, and some of their names are nouns, so you might not know...
right, so let's start...
And I don't mean proper nouns, I mean common nouns.
Okay, so let's start, Amy. If you would rank them from least ridiculous to most ridiculous in your opinion.
Okay.
And I'll tell you whether I agree afterwards. So, starting with the least ridiculous brother. Dallas, who I think as well, it's very American romance, very like, so that's not bad. He's like the third youngest, or like, he's one of the youngest brothers.
One of the youngest, yeah, that's correct, because, no, you're right. I think if you were called Dallas here in Scotland or in the UK, it would be slightly stranger, and it would, again, probably people wouldn't really be that surprised because we've got more Americanized names now.
It's definitely a one where people would be like, oh, that's a strange name. And I will say, guys, we're not shitting on these names because they're all Americanized.
Oh, no.
Dallas would be a weird one in this country, but we'd get over it.
Yeah.
But, go on then.
And in America, nobody would blink, I'm assuming.
I suspect not, no.
And there was a lot of Dallas, a lot of Austin.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So yeah, that's fine.
A lot of Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Little Cleveland. There is a Cleveland.
Anyway, right, okay, let me think. So I would say this. Maybe people would think not, but if you pronounce it the way we pronounced it,
oh, okay, I know exactly who you're going for. Interesting.
Not that strange to me. Mason.
Mason, of course. Would you tell the people how Mason is spelt?
Macon. Why did I say small c?
Macon. It wouldn't be weird because we live in Scotland.
M-A curly K O-N. M-A-C-O-N. Yeah. So if it was a soft C, it wouldn't be so odd. If it's Macon,
which is mad because obviously like the phrase to mac on with someone in this country, and not it's quite regional, I think. I'd say it's fairly northern.
It's not really Scottish, but yeah.
No, it's not, but I definitely think it's Northern England. To mac on with someone is to like snog. Yeah. Essentially, have a snog with someone. So
we would say get off.
Yeah, get off with. For sure. But yeah, no, it's definitely. We've seen a few people on TikTok say mac on, and it's we have both said Mason. I think just to give it some more normality.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think Trace is quite an interesting one.
Okay, I think it's because I've met a Mason.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
So I wouldn't think it was as odd.
I've seen Mason. We've got a Mason in the Vampire Diaries. Uncle Mason. He's Uncle Mason. Tyler's uncle.
Yes.
But I would say Trace, and the only reason I think Trace is because of the Tracy brothers in the Thunderbirds.
Okay, fine. Well, Trace would be my next one. And to be fair, I think it could be interchangeable.
Yeah, depending on how you're feeling. Again, so we've got Dallas.
We ain't got many Tracys in Scotland, but I'm sure it's not that odd in America.
We've got a lot of Tracys.
Yeah, true.
But we just don't have a lot of Traces.
No.
So we've got Dallas, Mason, Macon, who is the eldest brother. Then we've got Trace, who is, again, one of the youngest brothers with Dallas. Go on then. Who's your four? How are you going to choose between these two? I think I know what number 4 should be.
Army.
Yep, excellent. That is exactly the right choice. His name is Army.
The only reason I can give you why I'm putting it second is because when you hear the one I'm putting first, I'm sure you'll fucking understand. Number 1 would be iron.
I've just had a thought. Are we being bastards against a potential culture of Native Americans who have names that are different to ours?
I don't. Right. To be fair, the only real reference we have in popular culture, or the most recent and most popular culture reference we have to Native Americans, I think would be Twilight, right?
Or Yellowstone.
Okay. So I thought, I could be completely wrong, but I thought that more kind of modern day Native American culture, we have got names that we would just, they're kind of typical names.
I would also admit that, like, with this book specifically, I mean, is Penelope Douglas Native American?
Oh.
You have a look at that and I'll explain the rest of my thought. It takes an awful long time. It took an awful long time for me to realise. Well, I have it in my notes that literally say, is this a reservation? Because I don't think it's actually ever really obliquely said until they mention sort of the tribe or the people they come from, which is the Seminoles. And it's sort of they make a lot of references to the fact that it's their land. So you do get the idea of the white invader. But it was that sort of thing of like, are they Native American or are they not?
Okay. Sorry, I was just having a quick search. I can't see if Penelope Douglas is Native American. I can't find anything on Google to suggest.
Is there a picture of Penelope Douglas?
Yes, and that's why I'm saying I can't.
She's not Native American.
No, okay, that's fine. That's kind of what I was trying to say. So I also searched, is Army a Native American name? And no fucking results came up to suggest that that's true. If it is true, we do apologise. No, we don't mean to be insensitive, but to us, we just assume the names were quite out there, quite unique.
I also think, and I could be wrong again, I think a lot of Native American traditional names are nature based.
Yeah.
In terms of like, But yeah, so anything that is, you know, it's that element of like, is she naming them for the idea of what's the word, like, not shock value,
I think it's just so you remember them, like it's a talking point.
I still mix them all up, so I wouldn't.
Me too, especially because I thought I was like, oh, is Army the one that's in the army? No,
that's it. He
No.
doesn't even serve.
No,
It's not even a nickname. So
no.
I'm leaning over.
Rudy instantly said to me today when I was telling him the names and I was kind of recapping the plot to him. He said, "Oh well, that's a nickname, right? Was he the one that was in the army? You mentioned one of them was in the army." I said, "No, one of them's a marine, but it isn't army that's the marine." And he said it was army and the navy, and I said that's enough now. That's plenty for you.
I can see Ruby saying that.
He wants some podcast coverage. He wants a little bit of a.
He wants a little interview, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he does.
He's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Tell him to sod off.
Like, oh.
Brilliant. And sorry, yeah, of course, we missed out on the top spot for most ridiculous name.
Iron. IRON.
Yeah, spelt like the natural metal element.
Mm-hmm. Or an iron that you iron your clothes with. Whatever you're thinking about. Yeah. Iron Jaeger.
Yes, Jaeger. Jaeger.
Yeah, there you go. That's the names. Her name's Christian.
Honestly, if you say it in a sort of like, if you say it in the voice of Mater from Cars, it sounds like you're saying Christian. Christian.
Christian? Yeah.
Krisjen.
I just called her Christian. It's not Christian. I think it is Christian. Christian.
Yeah.
Christian. I don't know what it is.
Christian. It's stupid. That's
really
what it is.
Stupid. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stupid names in the book.
Yeah. The thing is, though, Trist 6 Venom, whilst it has the stupidest fucking title ever, no stupid names. Well, Christian's in it, and all the brothers are in it, but our main two, Clay and Olivia.
What does Clay stand for? What's short for? What's Clay? Is it not?
It might be, but...
Is it like Clayton, or... I don't know.
What, from Tarzan?
I don't know.
That's Brian Blessed. Like, no, I
don't know. It was just if there was ever a mention of it, but there maybe isn't.
Please don't ask me questions about
I'm sorry.
Trist 6 Venom.
I'm going to. I need to know about it.
Yeah, so the dynamic that we've decided to do this podcast is that Amy asked me whether it was worth reading, but you were already, like, halfway through the book, and I was like, don't bother, just push through, it'll be fine, and it'll be an interesting dynamic for us to discuss this on the podcast. Yeah, essentially, you don't get an awful lot. You learn about the brothers, you learn more about Mason as, like, the grumpy arsehole eldest brother that has to look after everyone else.
31.
He's 31, thank you.
Just going to put that out there for later.
That's fine. Yeah, basically, long story short, because you will be thinking, guys, God, we're at the 20-minute mark and they haven't started on the plot. Because there's no plot. There is literally no plot other than the plot that tells us how she manages to stop sleeping with one brother and start sleeping with another.
Yeah, there's no plot.
There's no plot.
Things happen.
But I wouldn't call it plot.
But they're not connected in any way.
Anyway, so yeah, you learn about that. Yeah. You learn about, like, how Army's the sort of second brother who already has a son. And he's sort of looked down about that. I don't know. And then you've got the other three brothers who are sort of just a little jokey. And then is it Iron that's a bit fucking fighty?
Iron's the one that goes to prison.
Yeah, so Iron's fighty. So in the first book he's fighty, and then in the second book, the one we read, for specifically that we're doing here, because you'd be forgiven for thinking, are they even doing a book? Because is it really a book? No.
So I didn't read the first one.
It is better. It actually has a point, and
right.
I think that's because it zeroes in on the two people that matter.
Right.
And the thing is,
I'm interested to read it. You have sold it to me, in that I'm like, this sounds like a really interesting plot. I want to know what happens between the two,
and it's pretty hot. Like,
I can imagine
it's probably some of the most hot sapphic sex I've read.
Everything else aside, Penelope Douglas does write a pretty hot sex scene.
And that's all the credit we're going to give them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I I didn't read the first one. So I started the second one. And I had just no fucking clue what was going on.
What I think is mad is that we're referring to them as the first and the second, whereas in actual fact they are billed as standalones.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because I don't want people to listen thinking, well, why the fuck didn't you read the first one, Amy? Like, of course you're not going to understand it. But it's not supposed to be read like that.
No,
they do not advertise them in that
literally,
way.
Penelope Douglas puts in the foreword or whatever, this book exists, this book is set in the same universe, you do not have to read it. I did it because we had a bit of a longer lead time before we recorded, and I thought, sod it, why not?
Yeah, because you were going away, and I had things on, and it was we knew we didn't really have much time to record, so we had a bit of a longer break between recording, so you had a bit more time to read it.
Yeah.
I had no clue what was happening. Absolutely no fucking clue what was happening. It starts off with this just bonkers first scene where there is a sexual role play going on, whatever, as long as you're being safe and
we don't know
fine.
it's a sexual role play.
We don't know.
That's the thing.
We don't know. We just think that she is being, basically she's in a situation where she's being abducted and then raped, essentially. But she's not, because it's Trace.
Yeah, it's the one of the youngest brothers who they build on that relationship. They do have a relationship in the first book. It's not really a relationship, it is purely sex.
Okay.
So Christian is a saint. She's from the posh side. She is friends with Clay and Olivia. She goes to school with them. She does not go to college like the others do.
No. So is she friends with Clay?
Yes.
At the start?
Yes.
Is she also mean, or is she nice?
She's mean by association.
Alright.
Okay. She's one of the first to champion their relationship.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
And she's very nice, and she's very
Comes across as fairly nice in the book, to be honest.
Yeah, she does for sure. She's never a bad girl at all.
No.
So yeah, and then we see sort of the worlds mixing between Clay and Olivia, and then we see Christian sleeping with one of Olivia's brothers.
Yeah.
And then so it almost picks off the sort of the plot for the first book.
Yeah. So they have sex in the car.
Well, they don't actually have sex, do they?
I thought they did. Did they not?
No,
they don't have full sex.
They don't, because she sort of it's the role play that she turns on her attacker and gets into his lap and is like, and is like grinding on his penis.
Oh yeah, does she not have a knife?
Yeah, she does. And then you realise, they go into the glove compartment and you realise that there are less condoms than there were the last time. So she is then highlighted.
So she realises that he's been having sex with other people and then thinks, nah.
Well, she sort of says, I know we aren't exclusive, but, I'm not having sex with other people.
Are you not? Not yet?
Well, not about to be.
Right.
I think, yeah. So...
Okay, go. That's fine.
So they go back to the Jaeger house.
Back to the Jaeger house.
Which, despite every single white person, Saints, in the fancy bit, would be like, oh, it's just a little shack. It is definitely described as a villa. For me, it feels like an Italian or Spanish villa.
I had it in my head that it was like a Spanish style kind of villa, but more so...
There's a fucking pool.
There is you're totally right, there's a pool. You know when you watch... I can't really think of any examples, but there are sometimes TV shows where it's almost like a kind of terracotta tile.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I'm thinking?
It's whitewash. Yeah. The terracotta roofs.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. That is exactly what I pictured. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what's described later on in the book.
I think you're right.
But it is not the shanty town that the
it's not.
Evil white folk would lead you to believe.
No, it's quite nice, and there's so many brothers and there's a little nephew as well. That I think they all have their own room.
Yeah, they all have their own. Oh no, Dallas and Trace they share a room.
Alright, okay, so 4 bedrooms. Oh, fucking tiny.
Is it Dallas and Trace, or is it Dallas and Ian? It's Dallas and Ian. They share.
You are so impressive to know who anybody is.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool that you can do that, because I can't do it at all. And all the way through the book, I was like, who are we talking about? Which one is that?
So essentially, then she gets taken back to their house because her car is there, and then Trace has already lined up another hookup. And he says, hey, if you want to have sex, we can have sex, or I can choose this lass. And she's like, fucking go at it. So she leaves, or tries to leave, and she realises her tyres have been slashed.
There's an ongoing plot through the whole book that she has car trouble. That happens a lot in the story. It drives a lot of the plot.
It doesn't drive her.
No.
Car.
The car's fucking useless, but it's constantly needing to get fixed. And this is the first time that happens, and she has to stay at the house because it's raining. And
I will interject here. The tyres have been slashed.
They have been slashed
by the lass that we don't know the name of, but she cleans the house.
Is she having sex with any of them?
She has had a relationship with Army and Trace, I think.
Okay, so just 2 of the 5.
But I think I think it's Army and Trace.
Okay.
Cool. Or Army and Iron. It's one of them. One of those. It's definitely Army. Or whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. So she then's like, fuck it, fine, I'll sleep on the couch. And then for some reason she gets horny.
Why did she get horny? Did something horny happen?
Is she listening to Trace banging the other lass? Is that the sort of thing?
Everyone's banging everyone in this book, so I feel like somebody's having sex in that house at any one time.
Anyway, so she
starts and breathe an STI at this point.
She starts whacking off.
Of course.
And then
it's only normal to do that in someone else's living room.
Under a barely there blanket. And then she realises there's someone standing in the shadows at the door. They have. Oh yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. At one point, someone asks her, because the plot, to explain this a little bit more, the plot is very much centred around, she doesn't know who the person is. Okay?
Yes, this is the whole story.
Fucking kisses them, and at one point someone asks her, why didn't you know you didn't know who it was? She says, no, the angles. The angles?
Is that what they say?
The angles.
No, I took a lot on faith.
The angles.
Yeah, so essentially, this person. Well, what I also love about this is it's pitch black.
Pitch black. You could not see a fucking hand in front of your face.
How does she see her own clit? Like, that's what.
She can see it. Who knows what it is?
Yeah. So essentially, this person, she then has this whole point of like, she then gets upset, and it's like, oh, sorry, I stayed here because I didn't want. I couldn't go because of the car. And then she gets upset and starts telling them that her mother is selling her off to a sort of creepy guy at the club.
It's the middle of the night.
It's so heavy.
It's too much.
When you find out,
trying to sleep.
when you find out who the brother is, it makes sense as to why he's taken in by this. But like,
yeah,
she says this sort of thing and she gets upset, and then this brother decides that the way to make her less upset is to fuck her.
I mean, it works for her.
It does work, because of course it's the most mind-blowing sex she's
ever had.
She orgasms from penetration.
For the first time.
Which, hey, we have to talk about. It's only common in 20% of women. Only 1 in 5 women will orgasm from penetration. So, like, I'm not necessarily saying it's a ridiculous plot point. We're just building on the fact that, of course, it's with this one mystery person.
We couldn't just have it that she just can't. She's just one of that 20%. She just can't do it. That's why she
20% women will. So she's the 80%.
Right. So she's fair. Then she's in the majority. That would be fine. But no. Magic penis comes along.
Magic penis.
And makes it all better for her.
I think let's just pretend we don't need to not tell people. It's Mason. It's obviously Mason. It's the eldest brother. We all know it is from the very beginning.
Very beginning.
But it also can't be him, because his sister says it can't be him, because essentially Claire's her best friend. They have this mind-blowing sex. She then rings Claire and is like, oh my god, I had this sex and I don't know which brother it was.
She's like, stop talking to my brother about like that, please. No, she doesn't. She's just all in on the mystery. Like, let's figure it out. Who could it be? Which my brothers?
And then Claire tells Olivia, who is the actual sister.
Sorry. See, I don't know.
And she is like, well, it can't be Mason.
Why?
Which means it is him.
Why did she say it couldn't be him? Can't remember now.
Just because he is who he is.
Oh yeah, because he's troubled. She can see that that the person who has came and had sex with her has a little wristband thing on, a little leather bracelet on,
which is like the sort of the brand or the flag of like the Trist 6, which you
can see that.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. You can see that, but you can't see facial features.
You can't see his face.
I know that
they're not fucking identical, are they? They must look slightly different.
Is Christian actually racist? Does she think that every brother looks the same?
Christian.
Classic white person, can't tell them apart. Did you ever get the feeling that Christian wasn't white, though? Because I got the feeling that Christian was a person of colour.
I don't know.
I don't know why.
I assumed because there was a bit of commentary around, the saints and who they were. I thought it was supposed to be a commentary on sort of like
what white people versus people of colour.
Like yeah, but I don't know. That could be an assumption that I made that's totally wrong.
No, and I mean, the thing is, you could be forgiven for getting that, because I'm not even sure we get a description of Christian. A real...
Well, I think we saw we were looking at fan art, and she was brunette. Did you see that in that picture I showed you? And I always thought she was blonde. In my head, she was blonde. I don't know why, because I don't think she's ever described.
I know, I'm trying
she's
to think.
Stunningly beautiful.
But also plain. Also plain and mumsy.
But stunning.
Yeah. Basically, we get an awful lot of reasons for why she has to... Right, so she has sex with this mystery figure.
Yeah.
And then her father has left them, so they don't have money anymore, which is why she's being sold off to this arsehole guy from...
Sold off!
I know, right? Anyway, there's
a lot of that. There's a lot of conversation around like selling sex in this book, because they reference the brothers have maybe done it too.
Yes, and we find that out that when they're... So essentially the reason the 6 siblings are by themselves is because their mother was deeply troubled with a lot of mental health issues, and that's done quite nicely, I think. That's probably the only saving grace.
Yeah. And their dad was... What was...
Well...
Was their dad violent?
They do go into some troublesome things about their dad later on, but essentially their mother has troubling mental health issues.
Yeah.
They talk an awful lot about depression, and Penelope seems to really focus in on the depression element of it. But I think you're getting a little bit of bipolar as well, but no, we don't talk about the bipolar. We're talking very much on the depression as to how much she's passed that on to her sons. But what you do get is the father being vilified, or villainized. Is vilified? Wait, I think I might be using vilified wrong. It doesn't matter. Anyway, you get a father as a villain because he keeps having children with her, whereas it's breaking her down and breaking her down. So there are 6 siblings, and she eventually... Well, the father dies of a heart attack or some sort of illness that you can't really see coming, something quite sudden, and then she kills herself.
That's correct.
In Mason's room, in the room that Mason currently sleeps in.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Actually, do you know what? The mental health representation isn't the worst part of the book.
No, it's very good, because essentially we get a moment where Mason is sort of revealed to be suffering and in a bit of a pit of depression.
Yeah, he gets out of the pit quite quickly by just having hundreds of sex, but yeah.
He doesn't have sex, Amy. He just has her sleeping next to him.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
So basically, right, so she's fucked Trace, she's fucked this mystery brother, she then... So yeah, they then offer her...
You need to help me with the order now.
Right, she then goes and gets a job at the restaurant that they own. Marionettes?
Yeah.
That's the name.
They own a fucking restaurant?
That's the name of a puppet. So...
That might not be the pronunciation, but I think it is, because I can't think of another way of pronouncing it.
Essentially, they own the restaurant, but this lovely old lady, who I won't say the name again, just in case I've said it wrong.
No, I think you're okay, but yeah. She owns it.
She doesn't own it. She
runs it, sorry.
Yes, because she is a undocumented immigrant.
Oh, that's right. And then there would potentially be an issue.
Yes, she would be found and deported.
Deported.
By the white people. I mean, fuck us, we are absolute bastards. Through this whole book, we are absolute bastards. Through the entirety of society, we've been absolute bastards. I have no problem with us as the villains. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably, if you're looking for that kind of commentary, social commentary, probably not the book for that, to be honest, because you do get interspersed quite a bit by quite graphic sex scenes of an 18-year-old.
Oh, yes, no, don't get me wrong. This is not the book that you should come for any sort of social commentary.
No.
It tries and it fails.
Thank you. You're totally right. What it's trying to do, it's not trying to do something that anyone is disagreeing with.
It tries well, and it actually, it tries and it fails. That's wrong. It does succeed at
We're talking about it, so
yeah.
it's got something, but it's yeah.
That something ain't good.
Anyway,
Right.
yes,
So
she gets a job at a restaurant. Now
she gets a job at the restaurant, and then they have a party.
And is the restaurant one of those restaurants where I know you get these in kind of classic American diners? All the American listeners saying no, you don't. Where the wait staff wear roller skates.
She's the only one that wears roller skates. No one else does.
I thought that was the case, and then I just didn't. I couldn't be bothered going back.
I think it almost feels as if she mixed them all, or like it's like, oh, I'll wear roller skates, and it'll be the first waitress to ever wear roller skates.
Yeah, but she's fucking great at it. There's honestly about a page where it just describes her going around the cafe and like picking up drinks and taking orders, and Bill always has the crayfish. Oh, skip.
I'd have poured those drinks all over people if you wanted me to roller skate around a restaurant.
Just on the floor. Just like crawling.
Help me!
Could someone get me up, please?
Could someone get me
5-hour shift to go?
Regular fucking shoes. Just wear trainers, love. You're fine. Anyway, she just goes.
She just goes on your feet all day.
She goes that extra bit faster. That's what helps. So she's really great at that. And then there's a party because Ian has decided. Well, no, he hasn't. He's done one too many fisticuffs, and he's basically being put in prison by actually Christian's grandfather, who is a judge but doesn't want anything to do with them. Anyway.
So hang on.
Oh no.
Iron.
Yeah.
Is going to prison for 3 years.
Yes.
What did he do?
He fought one too many times. He assaulted a few too many times.
Right.
And it makes a sense, I suppose. Like, he's been given off with warnings and shit like that.
Laughing at your son.
What?
He just sat like that. He fought one too many times.
Sorry,
like, oh.
for people listening, and for the fact this might not get onto TikTok because it's just too embarrassing. I'm sat with one of my head and one of my like hands like on the side of my head, as if you're just like, oh, honestly, he's just too far gone. Like, you know, like I'm sighing, but it looks like I'm sighing as well.
You've given up.
Yeah, true. I haven't.
Right, okay, sorry. Party for prison. There's a party.
Prison party for sort of a last blowout for him going because he's got to surrender himself in the morning.
Fair. What age is he? Is he one of the younger ones?
He's like 21 or 22.
Right, okay, cool. So.
He might be a bit older. But I think he's about 21 or 22.
So party time.
Essentially, he propositions her and is like, let's spend the night together. Want to spend my last night with someone that cares about me, shagging. And she plays that ridiculous game.
Red right hand.
Because it's a costume party, and she finds... So, one of the plot points of Try Six Venom is that Olivia is quite a talented seamstress. And so she obviously has a bunch of costumes in her room that she's not using. So Christian goes in.
I didn't know that. I just thought it was fucking odd that she had all the costumes. So that's fine. That makes sense. That's a plot point I didn't know.
Do you think, as I keep revealing these plot points for the books, you might end up liking the book by the end of this?
I might want to read it again. And I'd be like, whoa, the nuances. Let me go back to that. Oh man.
So they play this game called Red Right Hand, where essentially the catchers. It's like Tig. Or tag, but they've got paint on their hands, and they've got the safe places as a bunch of garages.
What's the paint got to do with anything?
I think
if you get tagged, you have to strip.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. If you get tagged, the amount of times you get tagged is how many pieces of clothing you've got to take off.
I mean, no. Just fuck off. No.
Well, she's got nothing to lose. She has so much to lose.
There's a scene before it where they're playing Truth or Dare in a room, and I was like, oh, this is quite hot, because it's like Truth or Dare, and it's like, Truth, you know, have you ever gone down in someone? The Dare, take off your waistcoat. She's a Mad Hatter. It's not that she just wears
a waistcoat. And she's wearing she takes off the waistcoat, or she takes off the jacket, and she's just wearing the waistcoat with her like tits squished and like that. Yeah.
Fine. That's fine, right? It's a sexy scene, whatever. It turns out though, zoom back. Imagine zoom in, sexy. Zoom back, whole party full of people. Someone's just sitting stand next to him with a gin and tonic, just chatting to somebody else, and she's like fucking fully naked.
Well, she's not fully naked at all. She doesn't even get naked at all, despite the fact that like.
I thought she took her top off in that scene. No,
she's still wearing either the jacket or the waistcoat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Don't worry.
We're fine.
There's
it's perfectly fine then.
There's no. Actually, I'm on board. There's no exposure.
Okay.
Even when, and I think this. you can't give us 2, right? She is fucking great at this game. She turns out to be super fucking fast. Oh yeah, what you don't get. Sorry.
Fuck boy. Yeah.
Fuck boy. I will point out what you do get again. Another subplot in Tri-Six Venom.
Isn't she's fucking fast?
Well, yes. Oh. They all play lacrosse.
Oh man. Right.
Oh man. They all play lacrosse.
Yeah.
And
Makes
Christian's
sense.
not a great lacrosse player, but she is fast.
She's fast as fuck boy.
She's fast as fuck boy. Anyway.
Yeah, so the den is the garages.
Yeah, there's a few garages that are open and you've got to get there, and if you get there, it's fine. It's like Tig, but en masse. There's a game that I used to play in primary school called Fleas, which is a similar thing, but the more people you Tig, the more people join your...
And never take their clothes off.
Yeah, in primary school. This is a family podcast, Amy. This is a family podcast, despite the fact that we mark it as explicit every week.
Every single episode, and this one will definitely require that.
So yeah, basically she's like the last girl left, or the last person left.
Of course she is. And
she's only been tagged a couple times. She's taken her hat off. That is the worst. It's when someone's like playing strip poker and like, oh, I'll take my socks off one at a time. It's like they count as a pair, mate. Yeah. So essentially she gets like tagged 5 times.
She has a Mad Hatter. Yeah.
No one else seems to be in a costume.
Running about.
No one else's costume gets described.
It never gets described. But here they have got their shirts off pretty much the whole book.
Yeah, the Jaegers they're really hot as well. Like, sorry, temperature-wise, clearly. It's very New Moon. I said this to Amy. I was like, I just pictured New Moon an awful lot. Not because they're reservation, but only because they're like in a place that's over the town from where the other people are.
And a big plot of New Moon is that they are hot, they run hot, so they have to take their top off a lot.
And they're always, in their shirt.
They're always fucking buff.
Is it? Like, oh no, it's Eclipse where Edward goes, doesn't he own a shirt?
Exactly. And we're like, we get it, but also...
If anything, I'm on Edward's team. I'm like, yeah, Edward, you said right. Doesn't he own a shirt? Thank God that wig's gone.
Oh yeah.
The Taylor Lautner wig, ridiculous. Okay, so, and then she gets tagged 5 times and decides something happens, like the party breaks up because they're all depressed, Iron's going to jail, and they don't take their clothes off. And then basically he's in a deck chair next to a pool, and she decides to give him what I'm going to coin the phrase as a pity fuck.
Oh, but he said he wants that, because she's like, where do you want me? And he's like, in a deck chair by the pool.
Does he say that?
Yeah. So his whole fantasies are coming true. Oh,
fair enough. And then there's someone watching them.
Of course it is.
Who could it be? She's like, oh, it might be Trace. It's like, it's obviously the boy that you fucked. Sorry, the boy that makes it sound weird. The guy that you fucked, like, the night before. So far we're at 3 brothers.
So they have sex once.
They do, and then he goes to jail.
And then, that's all I want. So then it was just like, check, he's gone now.
And what I love about this is that she goes with the family to send him to jail.
Oh my God, why are you getting so fucking involved, Christian? Like, go to your own house.
Yeah, so we get
also has a brother and sister that are just sometimes there.
You said this, you're like, why are they constantly left in the car?
Honestly, the little girl Paisley is always in the fucking backseat. Like, I'm just driving home. I've just taken Paisley home. Ring, 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 ring. Something's going down. And you're like, okay, let's go, Paisley, come on.
She's that meme where you've got like the directional ones of like driving forward, and then there's the driving to the side when you pull off the thing.
It's like deck.
Jaeger dick. I was gonna say the Jaegers are in trouble, and she proper cuts across the junction. To be fair, they do an awful lot of looking after her brother and sister because her mother isn't there, her dad isn't there, and so there's that bit of a plot element is sort of looked after in a sense that she doesn't just neglect her siblings. So then she starts fucking Army. And it takes a bit longer. To be fair, she doesn't just jump into bed with him. He isn't, and then Dallas, I will point out, is openly hostile towards her. She doesn't start fucking anyone, and there's this sort of thing. I will point out that there is that scene where she then, in between this, starts to wank herself off with a hose in front of Mason. Of all the things you could pick to wank yourself off with, you pick a hose.
It's a hose, guys.
I will point out as well, all the way through, this scene was so unbelievable for me because Alex and mine's back door tap has no water pressure. No decent water pressure. So I'm just imagining her holding this hose and her like clit and the water just dribbling out.
Just like,
and she's like, whoa!
It feels amazing. Mm-hmm. Cool. But it's okay because Mason thinks, fuck the hose. I've got something way better.
Oh no, I forgot.
What's it gonna be?
Is it his hands? Is it his tongue?
What's a fucking vacuum cleaner?
It's not just a vacuum cleaner, it's an industrial vacuum cleaner. It's clearly a vacuum cleaner that exists in like a car shop.
Her clit right off. I'm sorry. It must be sore.
Well, this
she
is it.
Loves it.
Yeah, so he sort of attaches the suction, which I get in some sex toys, there's an element of suction there, and I'm sure it's great. But, I mean, this is an industrial vacuum.
It's really strong, I'd imagine, if it's cleaning out cars.
I think it's more to clean out, like, you know...
I thought it was for the shop. They were in, like, the shop.
Yeah, so, like, Mason looks after cars or something. I don't know.
I'm interested in that.
Plot, plot, plot. And, yeah, and I mean... Sure. And then what I love about it is she comes and then he just gets up and leaves.
He puts a 20 in her pants and goes. Not her, like her panties if we're going to be for Americans. Yeah, he literally pays her. He's like, there you go.
That's not problematic at all.
This is a leading man, can I just point out? This is the main guy.
This is our MMC.
Oh my gosh.
Who we know that she's eventually going to end up with and is the one that fucked her the other night. So, yeah, essentially then there's a bit where she just sort of lives with them for a while and mothers them. I did put in my notes a non-existent plot line that just centred around an 18-year-old mothering and therapizing 5 men from the age of 20 to 32.
Thank you. She's 18. If you need a therapist, go and fucking source one. Stop talking to an 18-year-old about your fucking problems.
Yep.
30.
That is exactly what happens.
It's so problematic.
She looks after all of their problems. Trace is worried that he wasn't a very good partner. She solves that. Iron's scared for jail. She solves that and keeps him sane while he's in there, and there's some chats on the phone.
I didn't really care about any of that.
Mason is obviously damaged from looking after his parents and unresolved mental health issues. She looks after that. Dallas is very hostile about losing his mother and father at such a young age. She looks after that and eventually becomes the mother figure he sees. Thankfully, she doesn't fuck Dallas, so we don't get the whole 5 brothers, which, if anything, Penelope should be calling it 4 brothers. False advertising. But thankfully, if anything, I'm grateful she doesn't fuck Dallas. But he does come to respect her, of course, and I'm sure probably fancy her at some point.
I think he fancies her.
Probably.
I bet. But yeah, they don't fuck. How does she end up having, like, where does Army come into any of that? I can't. I remember they had sex in the shower, but I can't remember much more about it.
The first time her and Army fuck is in the cop car.
No!
Yeah.
Right, we need to discuss this.
Because this is sort of the next major sex scene. Like, they do a few will they, won't they's. I think they come close. Then essentially, why do they get arrested? Oh, I think, Mason gets them arrested.
Isn't there a fight?
Between Army and Mason.
Yeah.
Because Mason does something, I don't know, and some shit happens.
They say something and then they end up just getting into a full-blown fist.
And then Mason, like, the cops come and Mason's like, he's quite well respected because he's the head of Tri-6, and that's a real thing. And essentially, he gets them both arrested. And they end up in the cop car.
The police are got off, aren't they? Because they kind of say, like, it's not just saints that can buy off the police. Like,
thank you for doing that with the accent.
The swamp can do it too.
The swamp! Oh.
Lord.
Yep, so essentially, they go into the cop car and they get taken down the street, and for some reason, they're in the back of a very quintessential American police car.
She's got handcuffs
on. And Army decides that this is the right time to shoot his shot. And they then essentially start grinding up against each other, having a bit of foreplay.
He goes down on her because he's like, I bet you I can make you like come on my tongue. You're like, this isn't the time, man. We've been in a fucking police car.
Also,
You read the
I
room.
get car sick at the best of times.
No.
Like, I ain't want in a moving car.
Moving car, and the police are like, guys, keep it down back there. Come on.
They are very much like, what are you doing? Oh my god.
Her legs are like that.
Yeah. She is.
What's happening?
She is spread like butter in the back seat. And, so, yeah, and then for some reason they pull over and then they get out and give them some privacy.
Oh, it's weird.
And then they
think, all right, they're pulling over. That's good. This is sensible.
And what I love about the cop guys, the cop is that they say, we've turned the dash cam off.
Oh.
Just so
and
you
know. And
know.
then they say, just make sure you clean up after yourselves. What? What are you doing then? Just standing at the side of the road, just having a blather whilst we just
that
get on with
that
it.
is exactly what they do. I skip through most of this sex scene because it's so fucking ridiculous. But I will say, Army
I just put stupid on the tag when I was reading it on Kindle.
Nice. Yeah, so they have sex, and then she spends an awful lot of time with Army, at least. I
didn't think they were going to be together because, I mean...
Obviously Endgame is Mason, yeah.
But I did think, oh, okay, there's maybe more to this part of the relationship than the rest of them.
Yeah, it was fucking boring, and it's clear that she was just surrogate mother for Army's child.
Oh yeah, Army's got a child,
yeah.
Yeah, whatever. He's barely in it. Don't worry about that. If you get put off by and sometimes it's like I don't want the FMC to have a kid first, or I don't want a pregnancy trope. Don't panic about that. It's barely in it. They have sex in the shower as well, I think, at one point, but again, it just becomes really dull because the sex scenes at this point are just like.
They're also there's some in the bed, but it's almost like they have places. Penelope's decided to do as many ridiculous places for them to have sex as possible.
Yeah.
Basically, then halfway through her relationship with Army or whatever, they go to a fun fair, I don't know, or some sort of beach fair thing that the Saints have put on.
It's just a series of things happening, and then people having sex, and then it's like, let me just wrap up the bowl. Okay, beach barbecue, let's go. Like, come on, there's no flow to this story one bit.
You think she's gonna fuck Dallas, she doesn't, and then Mason gets depressed and she starts spending time in his bed, and then you get his point of view and he's like, oh, is there any excuse to keep her in my bed? And then Army's getting upset, and then they do eventually fuck. And then they do realise that they like each other, and then he tells her that he's the one that fucked her in the dark, in the pitch black, except from on the wrist.
Security guard scene.
The security guard scene.
Where the security guards turn up.
Well, this is post. So basically, the let's say the main plot point is basically that the Jaegers will have done anything for money to keep their family afloat for when their mum and dad died,
which is quite an interesting idea to do. I mean, you would need to handle it with a lot more sensitivity and
for sure. And that included basically Mason and Army. Their main business is landscaping. They have landscaping. They fix cars, and they own the restaurant on the other side of the tracks. And so they're landscaping. They landscape an awful lot of places on the other side of the white side. And while they were doing that, some husbands offered their wives to be fucked by the brothers while the husband watches. The husbands are putting themselves in the cook chair just to watch their wives fuck someone from the other side of the tracks. Army, as the second oldest brother, was sort of sent away by Mason, and he went and did it. Yeah. He had a bunch of women that he would fuck for a period of time, and then basically the third act breakup is essentially you find out that Mason fucked Christian's mother a few times, and she was awful to him. She was the one that was really awful to him and like hit him and degraded him and stuff. And this causes her to just have a right shit fit, like because Thingy's mum walks in on them fucking, and she's like, what? And then it's never really said, and Christian figures it out, and then. Yeah, and then they have a third act breakup, and then he's awful to her. He says some awful, heinous shit, and then she decides to sell herself to the man that she's always going to sell herself to, but if the development stops going into the reservation.
I don't know.
And then
is this the one that her mum had set her up with?
Yeah.
That was always going to be the guy that her mum said you can buy her, basically.
Yeah, and then he's in partnership with one of the other guys who's a father of one of the other dickheads who's in the first book. One of her classmates, essentially, and then they agree to leave.
We're not coming to a dark romance for, like, you know,
political stratagems.
No, or like any kind of sort of feminism, but come on.
I did write that. I wrote, I want to find something feminist in it. I mean, the way she doesn't feel shame in her sexual exploits. Not that she should, but boy, does everyone else remind her that she's property.
Yeah, a lot, and like, it's almost like you have to fuck me so you've had the sex, you know, like...
Yeah, I think...
You owe it to us to have sex with me as well.
Despite this book... having a female main character, the patriarchal voice is stronger.
Yeah, no, totally it is.
And all the way through, like I said, we've got this 18-year-old girl mothering and therapizing these 5 men. And sure, some of them are 21, 22, but Mason's 32 years old.
Do you know, just get a grip, Mason. Like,
and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a 14-year age gap. Like, you know, I mean, look, it's not
There's
great.
There's not anything wrong with it, but it's not great if the imbalance is as it is here. You know, he doesn't treat her well at all.
No.
It's all very sexual, and then as soon as they have the breakup, it's not a healthy conversation that they have. It's really cruel and callous, the things that he says to her.
Yeah, and so she puts on a bit of a cold front, goes and makes these plans basically because she loves Mason.
Why? What has he ever done for you to actually love him?
That's it. But we'll get to my problems with it in a moment. Not that we've not talked about my problems from the whole offset, but yeah, and then basically he finds out that she tries to give him 5 years to make the land profitable so the government won't sell it off to evil white villain number one. And then that all just gets fine. And then the weirdest ending, they meet at like on a boat in the middle of the ocean or something. And for some reason the deal's done. And I did put... why does her skeevy fiance just let her go? Seems flimsy. So yeah.
This is a long book.
But not a lot of long content.
I feel like within that time of the I don't know how many pages there are, but I'm guessing about 400 or something like that. It's a chunky book. You think that they would have came up with some plan for the ending. The ending on the boat is just batshit. I just don't understand what's going on. As you say, it's so flimsy that she just then gets to leave the fiancé and go and be with Mason.
Well, what I think is the maddest thing is you're so right. Like, but also people don't come to dark romance for really solid plot, right?
No,
you sort of have to extend disbelief. A lot of dark romance, I suspect, starts as mafia romance, and then it's sort of branched out from there. So you do have a bit of business dealing and that sort of thing, and then the things that can be sort of like taken from there. But what I would say is I have never read a dark romance like this. It just makes no fucking sense.
It's so... We've said this before, but I think my biggest gripe with it is that it's just so like fragmented. None of it really makes any sense. It doesn't feel like a cohesive plot. It just feels like things happening. And I know you might argue, well, that is what plot is, but there has to be consequences. There has to be, you know, decisions made and character development and some kind of let's wrap it up at the end. None of that happened. They just have sex in different places with different fucking brothers.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a bit last week with tropes ruining books. This book is pipped as a reverse harem. And I will point out that I do not think this book is in any way a reverse harem. Mainly for one of two reasons. A, the idea of like, why choose, which we spoke about, which is essentially the idea of reverse harem is they all become sort of a polyamorous sort of unit.
There's no need for there to be a winning man, if you like. There's no need for any of that. It's just none of them are above the other. They're all just
together,
In a
and
relationship,
it's this element of
mutually respectful.
yeah, that's it. And this is my other point is I wrote here, not a reverse harem book. Anything I've ever read in this genre is meant to be about protection and care for the FMC. They make her feel empowered, not devalued or objectified.
Well,
and unfortunately, and I'm not necessarily saying they do it all the time, there is elements of worship in there, I think, from the brothers, but there is also snide comments, and there is also fucking, like, it's not a reverse harem, this is not equality, this is not a polyamorous relationship, this is her fucking, and I'm no shame to the character or anyone or whatever, but this is her fucking a bunch of guys and them hating her for it.
Yeah, it is. You're totally right. They've all got mummy issues. They really need to go and speak to someone about it. This girl is in the position that she is the kind of mother figure, if you like, to them, and they all sort of seem to tap into that in sexual ways.
Yeah. I also realised in my notes here,
super unhealthy,
including the ending, he literally looks to her, Mason, our main character, looks to the love of her life and says, "I've bought you."
Gross. It's just gross.
And I don't know whether it's meant to be satirical or it's meant to be that sort of play on like what the other guys are doing, but it doesn't come across like that. No. I just wrote, dude, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
That's it.
Icky. It's an icky romance. I didn't champion the pairing at all. I didn't root for them. I didn't like any of them. I didn't mind Christian, to be fair. I actually quite liked that she was really sex positive, and
that's it. That's the only thing I could think of that's an element of feminism, is that, you know, she herself doesn't feel shame for sleeping with them, nor should she. But I think it's really shadowed over by the fact that everyone else makes her feel shame for the fact that she is fucking.
And sometimes and you know, she's got the right to choose, but sometimes her sort of reasons for having sex with them is because she wants to help them. She feels she can support them by doing that she can give them something by having that physical relationship. I'd have liked to have seen it a bit more selfish, and that she just wanted to have sex with them because she wanted to get something out of it for herself rather than always thinking about other people. But I understand where the kind of plot point came there.
Yeah, I just wish she valued herself a little more in thinking that perhaps she has more to offer than just her body. Yeah. Like, she wasn't stupid, she was clever. She said, she figured out to Mason, she gives him the opportunity for 5 years to make the land more valuable. She says to him, you should do this, you should go to this, you should go to this body and apply for... I don't know what the equivalent is in America, but here for like land status of like protected status or something. Yeah. Like, you know, she's not stupid. So
no, but none of the brothers. Well, I can't remember it. Maybe I'm wrong. You can let me know. But none of them, I think, ever mention anything except how she physically looks. Well, she's beautiful. She's stunning.
I think there's a few mentions of the fact that she's kind.
I mean, that's just about them, though. She's kind to you.
It's leading into that mothering thing of, like, you know...
You only see value in her for what she can do for you. What about her as a person?
Yeah.
Did we ever find out... Did any of them ever ask her about deferring from going to college? Because I know that's a bit of a plot point at the start, that she's not quite sure what she wants to do with her life. She feels that her life's kind of been set out for her up to this point, and now she's got an element of choice, and she decides she doesn't want to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Is that ever explored? Do any of the brothers ever?
No, not really. No. I think it's sort of assumed that she will go and live with Mason in the house, and
because he look after Dex.
Well, he extends the house, right? The end plot point sort of thing of the house, and I say plot point with very heavy quotes. Is that he'll extend the house to get an extension to make it so that Dex has his own room that her brother and sister can move in. Oh yes, because he goes to her mother after they found out that they used to shag. He goes to her mother and gets power of attorney for her brother and sister. Amy's just screaming into her hand.
Oh, goodness me. So bring them into this fucking nightmare of a situation too.
Yeah, and so that means that they'll all get to be together, whether Christian wants to or not.
So basically, even if she wants, one day decides she wants to go and be in a healthy relationship with someone, too bad, because Mason has power of attorney over your siblings.
Yeah, why not? I feel like it would have been such a much more romantic gesture if he managed to get power of attorney looked over to Christian. signed over to Christian.
Yeah. Not to fucking him. Oh, yuck. You
It's
forgot
such
about that
a
bit.
controlling red flag element.
He's a walking red flag.
They all are.
32. I feel like I can kind of forgive the younger ones a bit, because I'm like, well, look at your role models. Ooh.
Yeah.
But the older ones, alright, you've had a hard time of it. Like, you've had it, but that doesn't excuse you, and it doesn't necessarily mean that because people have had tough times or, maybe had difficulties with their own parents, that they just have these horrific morals and lack of morals, and horrific worldview. Like,
I think
it's quite
seen,
insulting, actually.
Yeah, like we saw in The Housemaid with that last minute sort of humanising of Andrew.
Yeah.
Do you think that this has been they've been written so tragically in a way to forgive them for their behaviour?
And it's so cheap. I just don't like it, and I don't think it's right at all that we can excuse characters in that way. I think I'm not saying that there can't be an element of redemption. That's fine, but you've got to do something to actually earn that.
Yeah, if anything, Mason comes out of his depression, and in the moment where he could do something that makes him a hero, he almost doubles down on that objective and possessive behaviour.
Yeah, and talks about getting her pregnant all the time, without ever really thinking about what her choices were in that matter at all.
Yeah, the fact that so we get an element of I wouldn't even call it the breeding kink.
Trace can't get her pregnant because he's not seminized himself. He's had a vasectomy when he was 18.
Yes, he wanted to make sure that he didn't have any children.
Yeah, I made that decision when he was 18.
So that's sort of a reason that she counts him out.
She didn't really know that though.
No, she finds that out. Maybe she finds that out after the fact. I don't fucking know.
And Dallas and Army would always wear protection.
Mhm.
Okay. Mason doesn't.
Yeah, and Army signifies this is the first time he's had her as well before he goes to prison.
Yeah.
Sorry, Iron.
Sorry. Yeah. No, you're right. So.
Yeah, I mean, but also I'm pretty sure it says in the synopsis who she ends up with, so it's not even that much of a mystery, which is fine. Then maybe it's not pipped as a mystery, and we're just shaking the book, being like, "Open your eyes, Christian." But yeah, as you can, I really hope this doesn't become a TikTok phenomenon, because if we're writing down on our little board of us, nil, TikTok, whatever, this is going in our pile.
Big time.
I wouldn't say it's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time.
Amy thinks it's a waste of time.
I'm sorry.
I think if you've read the first one, if you've read Trist 6 Venom, this is a continuation of the story, perhaps a bit of closure for the brothers that you don't get. But I will warn you, if you have listened this far, everything we say here is true. This all happens. It's just ridiculous. And it's, for me, the fact that you've not read the first one is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Because the first one, yes, it's a bully romance, and you sometimes have to stretch your imagination, but not to this extent.
I don't mind suspending disbelief in a book, and I don't come to an erotic book, because I feel like Penelope Douglas books are very sex positive, sex heavy, explicit. You're looking at 5 chili peppers, right? There's not really any way around it. So I don't come to those kind of books expecting huge amounts of plot, huge amounts of character development. Not necessarily all the time. I get it. I think what this book does, though, is it's really damaging. There's a lot of really damaging themes in the story. It's not handled particularly well, and some of it is quite worrying, that we've got an 18-year-old in this situation with all these men who are older than her, and then the man that she ends up with is 32 years old.
For me,
age gap not a big deal, but in terms of power and balance, this is a little bit of a...
For sure, and I think
a worry.
If you took out their ages, it would be no less sexual or no less sexy. Why does it... Even in... And I'm not just going to drag Penelope Douglas for this. I feel like this is all the way through literature in itself. What is it about a young female main character that we fetishize?
Yep.
What is it about it? It's her virginity.
It's her virginity.
But this is the thing, Christian isn't a virgin. And she's not even a virgin when she starts fucking one of the brothers.
But they all see her as an object to own and claim, and
They
I've had her and I've done this. And
they also all see her as really pure as well.
Yeah.
And that is, and I think that's the sort of dangerous thing is when I'm finding more books in terms of not enjoyable, but like sex scenes where the characters already had sex. That's much more better for me because it's almost giving people a belief that you are changed once you've given someone your virginity, or that losing your virginity is so much more pertinent in women than it is in men.
Yeah.
You're changed. Oh, she feels different. Does she look different? That whole thing is just sick for me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've read so many books where that quote has literally been. I could lift that quote from the book. Does she look different? Do people know what she's done? It's almost that sense of
you're giving it
letter, isn't it?
Too much gravitas. Like and that's it. But
and a lot of the time, the male main character certainly isn't given it any.
Exactly, and I'm not saying throw away your virginity, but I am saying it's put too much up on a pedestal to make you feel like trash if you lose it to the wrong person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we're not in we're not still fucking paying a dowry here, guys. Like, we don't have to have...
Your dad didn't pay?
No, Craig didn't do that, no.
Gary made sure that Alex had at least 4 goats. And at least a plot of land.
A couple of chickens.
Yeah.
We've got past that point now. And I don't have any issue with obviously we love to see sex positive characters.
Yeah.
But if you're going to really lean into that, then really lean into it. Don't play it lip service. Actually do it. Actually have the character feel empowered and be respected and have no sort of black mark against their name for the choices that they make. Which
is what we normally get in a reverse harem. We'll get, obviously, of course, the naysayers are like the villainous men or whatever who will call her a whore, but you'll get the group then coming to her defence.
And as long as the group is respectful, I have got no issues with that.
Yeah.
But here we have a very toxic group of men, none of which deserve her, really. Maybe Trace. He didn't really do anything that bad. Did he?
I would say the one that deserves her. Jesus, that is awful. But if you're making me pick, I think it's probably Army.
What, Cop Car Army?
Cop Car Army. Look, his timing may not be great, but she fully consents to the cop car sex.
There's a lot of conversation about... We didn't go into that.
No.
There's a lot of conversation about consent in this book too, and actually I don't even feel personally qualified enough to talk about it. But
no, I think on the whole, it's not bad consent. I think I wasn't throwing up any major red flags.
I didn't like the scene in the dark.
No,
I don't believe you can fully consent if you don't know who the person is.
That is a really interesting conversation.
So
that we can have, but we're, like you said, not qualified and out of time.
Out of time. I think it's time for final thoughts.
Yeah. Well, no surprise to anyone, but let's do it anyway. Final thoughts. Amy, would you recommend this book to a friend?
Absolutely not.
No, I wouldn't. I think I am really interested, and if you have some time, for you to read Tri-Six Venom.
I think I will read Tri-Six Venom, to be honest. It intrigues me. I just want to say right now, this is not a massive go at Penelope Douglas.
No.
I have read other books by them, and I have enjoyed them.
This was my first. These two were my first. But I haven't. No, and we never do this to eviscerate the author. We appreciate the amount of effort that goes into writing a book. And we're not.
The writing wasn't bad. Can I just say the writing itself wasn't awful in this?
I don't want to talk about that. But at the same time, we're not tagging her in this. Like, we appreciate you don't tag people in bad reviews. Like, they're gonna happen. Like this one. So there's no way this gets backed anyway. Hopefully. But this is not a personal attack. It's just how we feel about this book. And who knows, we might have felt very differently on a different day, but I don't think so.
No.
I'm trying not to sit on the fence or pull back our comments too much, because I think I have conviction in our comments.
I have conviction in our comments. I don't think we were unfair in what we said. I am not vilifying. We don't know if it's vilifying or we didn't know. We're going to stick with vilifying the author at all.
No.
I think that when you read a sort of spicy erotic book, there can be some problematic topics in there. If you read a dark romance, I've read darker and I've read much more problematic topics than this. But I do think it's important we need to talk about it, because this is becoming a bit more, I guess it's kind of in the zeitgeist, it's better known right now.
Dark romances.
And I think it's important to make it clear to people listening that if you are unfamiliar with dark romance and you are a younger reader who's maybe just discovering sort of sexy books, your own sexuality, this should not be an expectation.
No, absolutely not. And I think there's a select group of people on Book Talk, on Bookstagram, that are giving dark romance readers a bad name. Did you see that thing about there was a man who was on trial for like murdering his girlfriend or a woman, of like running over her again and again and again until, and the quote is, she resembled spaghetti, and he's heavily tattooed.
I have seen him.
And the comments were like, where's Book Talk? Ooh, waiting for Book Talk to show up.
Book Talk enters the chat and things. Disgusting.
I wouldn't, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Those people, and I'm not a huge dark romance reader, so like I'm not going into bat for myself, but I will say that these genres are in books for a reason. Like, they don't, generally people who read dark romance don't then have that similar sort of sexual proclivity.
No,
not that
it's
having...
a lot of the time it's a fantasy, right? Or it's curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, let's read something a bit different. I wouldn't personally enjoy it. I'm not someone that wants to experience this necessarily. I'm quite enjoying my own comfortable relationship.
Where we're best friends who are celibate and live together.
Exactly. But let's explore this. Let's see. And I think it's really, really... I think it's really worrying right now that it's becoming the norm, that maybe we're not having enough conversations. We're having, as you're just saying, that really horrific video where if you are experiencing a red flag in a partner, it doesn't necessarily mean, it's sexy and dark and ooh, like this romance is difficult, but we're going to get through it.
I mean,
it's abuse, or,
Absolutely. And from what I can gather, it's hard enough for domestic partners to not only see the abuse themselves, but also to escape that abuse or to recognise that abuse is happening to them, to leave, without us glorifying it.
Exactly. That was the word I'm looking for. Are we glorifying it? And I think sometimes we are.
Sometimes it treads that line, for sure.
Yeah. Trigger warnings in the book. If you are going to read this book, if you choose to read this book...
Should we have done that at the beginning? Do you think?
Well, let's just say now.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to put them in now, and apologise for not putting them in earlier.
If you're going to pick this book up because you're a Penelope Douglas fan, or something about this review made you want to read it.
What about this review? Please tell us in the comments. I would be fascinated to know what about this review makes you think that it would be enjoyable.
Please do check them out. Please read them. I think they're in the book. If they're not in the book, they should be on Penelope Douglas's website.
I don't know if they're in the book.
I'm pretty sure they put them in a website. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah.
So please go and look anyway. And if they're not on a website, Goodreads will have them. I'm sure someone will have listed them in Goodreads. So do your research before reading this book.
Yes, and I mean, do your research before reading any book, really. Don't go into a book that doesn't have trigger warnings at the beginning. A lot do. A lot of authors are starting to put trigger warnings at the beginning.
Like to normalise that, for
absolutely.
Sure.
But if you do not see trigger warnings, do not assume there aren't any.
Yeah.
Or there won't be anything problematic. Just maybe do a little quick thing, quick name of the book, name of the author, trigger warnings, see what comes up. But yes, thank you so much for listening. I suppose
we're retiring.
Yeah, this is us done forever. We're never doing another podcast again. We've been destroyed by this one. Obviously not. We're just
kidding.
Yeah, lol. How we laughed. Next week, we will be bringing you one of my favourite authors, actually.
I'm so excited. I think we should do a little mini series about that. Like maybe we bring our favourites and we...
Oh!
Not necessarily our favourite books, but our favourite authors that we maybe haven't
cute.
Something by.
That could be a mini-sode, absolutely. Look at you.
Look at me.
Making content on the clock. So we'll be reading The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. She is the author of the Witchland series, which is where I read her to begin with. But I'm so excited. I've had this on my shelf for a really long time.
You love her.
I do. I think
Why?
she writes some really compelling female characters,
Ooh, lovely.
and her plot and her world building is just exquisite.
Yay! I'm so looking forward to this
So
one.
hopefully we get the same in The Luminaries, because I know how important setting is to you.
But to be fair, I'm already interested because we've already had the setting, like the where we're set, the plot set named.
There you go.
So already I'm thinking, setting as a character.
We said we weren't doing that
I know,
anymore.
I'm so sorry.
Too late. It slips out. But yeah, podcast page turners at... No, that's not the thing. Page turners pod.
Yep.
TikTok and Instagram, guys. Podcast page turners at gmail.com to email us. We are here every week. Comment on our episodes. We love comments.
Love comments.
Laura.
It's so fun
Hannah.
that Spotify lets you comment now, so please do.
Yeah, please do. Please.
Yeah. please do.
But if you do not comment, we will at least be in your ears next week.
Yeah, and if you have any recommendations for books, let us know, because we just pluck them out of thin air sometimes.
Sometimes in the middle of the episode.
5 brothers. So save us from ourselves and give us some actually good recommendations.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Until then, happy reading.
Bye.